Good day and welcome to our first topic on the introduction to an impactful research. I'm Dr. Erwin Martinez, the Director of the Center for Pharmacy Practice, Research and Policy in Asia, and also the Director of the Internationalization and Linkages in San Pedro College. I'm also the Visiting Professor of Bournemouth University, United Kingdom. And welcome to our first topic. These are my visibility for my social media on research, and that would be in ORCID, Scopus ID, Researcher ID Thomson Reuters, Academia Research, Problems ID, and Google's Scholar, and others. So you just click at a second, you will see my line of researches and also my publications. These are my published books. And one of the book chapter that I have is an encyclopedia of pharmacy practice and clinical pharmacy. And I have also published several books, including also the pharmacy practice in India. And of course, I have published also in different journals, and one of it is in a BMC Public Health, BMC Proceedings, Annals of Global Health, and of course, other ISI and Scopus journals, and even open access journals. So these are my peer-reviewed. I have peer-reviewed almost 70 papers, and I'm also a member of a different editorial board of different high-impact journals and open access journal, whether it's in a local, national, or international journals. Now, these are my references for today. So we're going to tackle about how to publish high-quality research, but this will be in connection to the introduction of research, how to get started in terms of your impactful research, how we develop in terms of our writing skills, publish it and repeating it, at the same time also with the different references that we have. Now, it all began to our researches and also our experiences and research. I'm sure for those who have already done a lot of research, it may be a very fun and exciting thing, but some of you perhaps may be traumatic or needs to really develop in terms of their researches. So it's basically people to people. Now it depends on how they deal with researches. But for me, I started actually not appreciating research, but as I go along in terms of collaborating with experts on researches, then I really love to go into to the research. Now, this is the main definition of research, and it really undergo a lot of processes, whether it's a formal, systematic, or intensive process of a scientific method, so meaning it undergoes a lot of processes, and at the same time, it undergoes careful inquiry or examination, and it really becomes systematic, controlled, empirical, and critical investigation. And it really undergo the process of finding a solution for a certain community or a certain solution for a society, basically solving the problem after a thorough study and analysis of a situational factors. So this is how we started with our research. First of all, the first step is actually to choose a very good topic. And that very good topic actually lies upon how we actually looks into the gap or the problem of a certain research. Now, after we have already identified in terms of the gap or the problem, then we're able to collect a background information by searching a reliable information from a journal or from a book or a textbook then, and organize information and be able to cite a good information. Is whether it is from a Scopus, ISI, Thomson Reuters, or different journals, as long as it is a very reliable sources. Now, number four is that to be able to evaluate information and write a research question based on the gaps or the problems that we have. And it's basically a good thing because we already read a lot of textbooks, journals, and be able to see what is really the gap and what would be our particular solution to a certain problem or an intervention to a particular problem. Now, we be able to write a draft, edit, correct, and revise. At the same time, we'll be able to have our final draft, and cite a good references. So these are the different steps that we have for a certain research process. Now, basically, how do we know that our particular topic is a good research topic? Now, the first thing that we'll be able to ask is that does the topic fit the specification and meet the standards set by examining institution? Like, for example, the institution that you have, is it fit in terms of the criteria? Because as of the moment, we are in the pandemic. So basically, it is not allowed to go to our institutions to do a particular experimental researches. Now, number two is that is a topic something with which you are really fascinated all about? Are you interested on your particular topic? Then does your research topic contain issues that have clear link to the theory? Or that do you have or can you develop within the project time frame the necessary research skills to undertake the topic? Or is a research topic achievable within the available time? Or is the research topic achievable within the financial resources that are likely to be available? So these are the different checklists of attributes wherein we may say that that is a really a good research topic. And number one would be in terms of the specification or the standard. Number two, are you really interested on that particular topic? Number three is that does it contain a particular issues that link to a particular theory? Number four is that the projected time, the time frame, is it suitable then? And number five is that the available that you can achieve that particular, is it really relevant at the same time timely? Is it adaptable to a particular time frame then? And lastly, in terms of your financial resources. So these are the checklist of attributes of a good research topics. Now, if you can see on this particular picture, we can actually generate a lot of research topic in mind. And one of it would be in terms of, number one would be in terms of medication adherences. It can also be dealing with pharmacoeconomics, or it can deal with the dispensing, pharmacy practice, or even at this time of COVID-19, of a lot of like knowledge, attitude, and of course, their practices during COVID-19 pandemic. Or it can be a discovery of a particular innovations then, but that would be in limitation in terms of time, at the same time, resources. Or lastly, it can also be in terms of mental health or psychological factors of an individual or a group of population or even our frontliner. So there's a lot of things that we can consider then in terms of this particular pictures in mind. So what would be the impact in terms of research? That research must have in terms of an impact. It can be an impact in terms of teaching and learning. It can be an impact in terms of your practice. It can also change in terms of public policy or in terms of elevation for those who are in the poverty line, the economy itself, or the society and the environment. At the same time, also, it will increase the knowledge of a certain population. So all of this that we deal with research, the main impact of this would be in terms of the people, okay, the society, the community, okay, or the institution. Now, where to look for possible topics, and that would be the possible topics can actually link into, shall we say, literatures, journals, the gaps that we can read from the different journals or textbooks, no? Unexpected findings. It can also be suggestion on scientific literatures, the recommendations, or even explanations from a certain scientific literatures, or unsubstantiated claims or unqualified statements. So these are some of the problems or gaps that we can, or from a speculation or hypothesis that we have. So there's a lot of things that we can actually consider when we look at possible topics. No? The positive topics remember that it should be timely and relevant in the signs of the times. Now, moving on to this, what would be our background reading? Now, in the background reading, we'll be able to look into the clarification of a problem. Is it really a problem? Or is it just an hallucination in our mind? Or we'll be able to set a reading plan for a general textbook, a specific textbook of monograph, look of a leading articles and reviews, like lay down basic principles, identify prime references. We'll be able to place articles that are relevant to our study and be able to give advice from our supervisor in case that we haven't looked into a particular problem. Then be able to ask our mentors or supervisors with regards to their research area that still can be developed. Okay, so what would be the fulfillment of an institutional requirement when we look at a particular topic? Then, as what we mentioned a while ago, that it should be timely, relevant, adaptable. Then, and of course, we look at also with the requirements set. So, if that to be in terms of animal study, then you need to be able to get an animal welfare approval. Or if that to be for human subject, then we be able to have ethical approval if human subjects are deeply involved with the topics. Like for example, also survey, clinical trials, and all. And of course, if we're dealing with microorganisms, no, that would be in terms of biological or biosafety approval. Okay, so there are 10 page research paper that really strike us most. No, when we time spent writing a 10-page research paper. That would be, as you can see here, instead of writing, you'll be able to eat your pastries at the coffee shop. You'll be able to sleep. You'll be able to adding fluff words to meet page requirement, making the periods to the bigger font size. Be able to go onto Facebook instead of going to your research. Actual writing and research are quite very few, and mostly crying because you know you are going to fail with it. But of course, in the time that we're going to spend, we need to have a good time management then, no, in terms of looking at research. So we don't do our research when it's really a last deadline. But then we'll be able to do our research on time. And with ample time that you have, you will have more qualities that you can actually spend with your research study or your research work. Now, we be able to not procrastinate, okay, and panic later. We'll be able to face the reality then that this particular research will be able to make it more fun, exciting for all of us, and we'll be able to discover new things, no, with regards to research. Now, there are different softwares that we can actually bring along, okay, that will help us with our research. It can be Grammarly, Mendeley, Zotero, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, IBM SPSS, or any other softwares that can actually be used for statistics, for writing our research paper, and all. That will actually lessen in terms of the burden that we have in terms of writing. At the same time, it will lessen also our time for doing some technical work rather than focus with the content. Okay, so I'm going to give you a 5 tips of getting your work to be published, but it started with what are you going to do with your research right now, no? So you need to get a solid title as a first step, okay? By getting a solid title wherein people are interested, the journals are interested, what's the current trend? Is it timely? Is it relevant at this time? So that solid title will bring you a long way now in terms of your research opportunities. And number two would be, is it timely and relevant then? So your research must be relevant for the signs of the times, especially at this time of pandemic. At the same time, also it's timely. Okay, timely. Okay. At the same time, also number three, make a good, well-written research paper with English grammar that we have, the particular format of our researches, to be able to scrutinize it one by one. At the same time, also the content itself should be interesting for the readers to actually read it and of course adopt it in the particular community or a society. So it should really have something, an impact also. And number four would be to write a great literature review. Of course, if what you actually write, getting from a non-reliable sources would lead into a non-reliable journal also. Okay, so if you go on to the standard of writing, your literature review is very good. You get it from a reliable sources and you cite it properly, then it will bring you a long way for your research opportunities also. Okay, and number five would be to target the right journals. Targeting the right journals where you're going to publish your work would be a very essential, very essential. Because, like example, you target it from VMC, what to be their qualification? You target from an open source, what to be their qualification? What to be their template? Okay, and what would be the research interest of that particular journals? Another one would be, of course, there are a lot of moments in times wherein our particular paper will be rejected. Or when we submit it to our supervisor, sometimes there are a lot of corrections and sometimes we are depressed of it because of that. No? So we be able to be positive in mind that we can actually do it because it's not the end of the world. We'll be able to positively look into our paper that it can be revised based on the suggestions of our supervisors or mentors or even the journals itself. Okay, that is actually for the improvement of your paper, improvement of the whole methodology, and of course the literatures, the proper citations, in a proper way of doing with a certain research. Okay, so why do we usually fail? Because most of the time of our technical errors, like for example the English errors that we have, that the little interest of the reader to your work, at the same time your title is not that very interesting, poor quality of your figures, poor quality of your output or your results, no? And of course it's out of the context of the time and the relevance in terms of the situation now. Okay, so that's how the tips to avoid in terms of failure. Okay, so I'm going to give you an extra tips then how we be able to have an impactful research paper by not only having a good title, but also in terms of collaborating with people. Collaborating with people, experts, your mentors, your supervisors, at the same time also linking with previous authors of a certain research or collaborating also with other experts in the field that you are into. So it's very important. Before you can actually have a solo research, you can actually go on with research alone. But then, as of the moment, it is time for us to collaborate then with other people, other experts with regards to research. At the same time, also, you'll be able to leverage your standard. Okay, put your standard into more sophisticated, more shall we say, substantiate into the content. Now make it more standardized based on the needed journal requirement, institution requirement. So there's a lot of things not to consider in leveraging the standard of your research. Okay, so and also increase your visibility, so you'll be able to log in also in ResearchGate, in other social media that actually uses research as a main visibility. Okay, so like for example, academia, Orchid, and of course other Scopus and non-Scopus journals. Okay, so and this I think this is a very important for all of us to put more efforts and be positive always in doing research, and be able to have focus in terms of what we are doing. Okay, because it may affect also the lives of people. It may also affect in terms of the community. It may also affect in terms of the researches, experimentations that you have. So there's a lot of things. No? As a scientist, as a pharmacist, then we'll be able to elevate our profession also, no? With this research. Okay, so always positive, be positive, and put focus in all your efforts in dealing with research. Okay, make it a habit. Okay, you can actually publish in your blogs, in your research papers also. You can actually write in a newspaper. Okay, even a simple blog or a simple diary will do. So in that case, you'll be able to develop the habit of writing, because writing, publishing, and repeating it is a key to this new normal that we have. Okay. So just a take-home message for all of us in dealing with research, that we be able to be practical in selecting your needed topic. Okay, it should be timely, relevant, and don't make it too complicated for you, no? To deal with research. Okay, impact is one of the criteria. Then in selecting your paper, there are a lot of factors to consider, like suitability, rejection rate in terms of your work. No? So it should be something that it interests the public, and as what we have mentioned, timely and relevance is the key, no, for this good publication. At the same time, also need to consider research process that matters on time, selectivity, suitability, and as what mentioned a while ago in terms of the tips that I have given to you, that it should guide you and move you as you go along with trial and error. Okay, there's no perfect direction in terms of research, but the important thing is that publishing yourself, pushing yourself into your limit. Okay, so there is actually a direction that you need to go into. At the same time, this added tips that I given to you based on my experiences, you'll be able to learn, live, and enjoy every moment of your writing, publishing, and repeating your habit to become a scholastic writer. Okay, so as what I have done, I have done a lot of failures in terms of my research. There's a lot also of success that I have done also. So it really gives me more enthusiasm, motivation, then to give you more tips later on in our second topic, the more experiences that they have as we go along with our research. So these are my further readings. And of course, thank you very much. Once again, I'm Dr. Erwin Martinez Falier, your professor in pharmacy department in different institutions. At the same time, also the director of Center for Pharmacy Practice, Research, and Policy in Asia, and also the visiting professor in Bournemouth University, United Kingdom. Thank you very much, and good day to all of you.